Hello BookTube, hello friends, welcome to LizziefayeLovesBooks. I'm Elizabeth, and today I need to do a video update of sorts. I realized that even though it's mid-February, I had not really done a goals update for this year. Now, I started probably from January 1 thinking about my reading goals for this year and planning for them, and I'm basically continuing a project that I started last year in 2018 called Project 20 by 20. And that's a stack the series type of challenge. You may have heard of it from Sarah's channel, Steeped in Books, because she started a challenge on her channel and set up threads in her Goodreads group for a stack the series challenge. But I first heard about it from her early in 2018 because she had first heard about it from the Romance Readers reading group. And when I heard her talk about it and I went to their group and I looked it over, I knew that that was the type of challenge that I could really wrap my head around. However, I had to tweak it for myself and my own needs because I tried taking all of the series that I had started and that I wanted to start and adding up the number of books in each one, and it was just not going to work out to do a straight pyramid type challenge where you have one book in one series, two in another series, three in another series, and so forth. So I think that there are quite a few new subscribers who have started watching my channel over the past year, and you might have missed the video where I introduced the 20 by 20 challenge. So I thought it would be a good idea to give you an update on the challenge as a whole and tell you how many of each stack that I got done last year and how I've tweaked it a little bit for this year going forward, because the other day I filmed a video that was supposed to be my March Mystery Madness TBR, and it was just all over the place because I was trying to explain how some of the series I was reading were from my Stack the Series challenge. One was from my group of 14 and one was from my group of 4, and it was all over the place and it was a mess, and I just deleted it. And I thought, okay, I have to back up a little bit and talk about my reading year as a whole as I see it, and give you a few updates on my overall reading goals and how I did last year and what I plan to do moving forward. Then I'll be able to go back and do my March Mystery Madness TBR, and I think if you watch both videos you'll understand a little bit more about why I chose what I chose for March Mystery Madness. So a couple of years ago I started keeping my reading journals, if you will, in these composition books. They're just about right for 1 year, and I can make all the notes I need to for what I'm reading, and I can plan my TBRs and plan my videos and things like that. So I had put my 20 by 20 lists in last year's book, and part of the reason it's taken me so long to get around to giving you an update for this year is that I had to rewrite them in my new 2019 book. And while I was at it, I realized that there were a few stacks that needed to be flip-flopped and changed around and added to and taken away, and so it's basically still the same challenge that I started out with in the beginning of 2018 with just a few additions. My overall 20 by 20 challenge consists of 20 stacks that I hope to finish by the end of the year 2020. So I basically gave myself 3 years to complete the series and the goals and the projects that I incorporated into my 20 stacks. Each stack is not one series. Some of them are, but some of them are categories. So I thought I would first just go over my overall goals, and then I'm going to go through each stack and tell you what it is. And I will probably need to do a couple more videos where I feature specific stacks or specific types of stacks, because some of them can kind of go together, and then you'll have a better idea of what my reading year is going to look like. So just a quick overview of my overall reading goals. So I think this is the 3rd year in a row that I have set a goal of 150 for my Goodreads challenge, and I hope it will be the 3rd year in a row that I hit 250. I decided that I still am comfortable with the number 150. I think it's a really good goal. I could easily do a book a week in print and then another 2 books a week on audio, and I'm comfortable with that. I was a little disappointed in myself in my print reading for 2018 because I hit 97 books and I didn't even realize it until the year was over, and I was kicking myself for not adding it up sooner, or I probably would have made a push to do at least 3 more so that I could have had an even 100 on my print books. But it's too late now, so Oh well. So I have, within my 20 by 20 project, I have several different ongoing reading projects. Some I've had for several years, and some I have added as late as 2017. So I incorporated all of those reading projects into the 20 by 20 challenge. And then, of course, last year I had to add one more. And I've tried to incorporate it into the 20 by 20 challenge. It doesn't fit exactly, but it's still really over and above what I'm doing for the 20 by 20 challenge. And that challenge that I just added was my TBR jar challenge. Most of those are nonfiction books, and I do have nonfiction as one of my stacks. But I discovered that last year I read more than enough for my stack, and everything I read for the TBR jar was really sort of extra. And if you are curious about what my TBR jar challenge is, those are basically books that I think I can unhaul as soon as I read them, or at least give them a second look and decide whether or not I'm going to read them. And the majority of those are nonfiction. So my 20 by 20 challenge encompasses all of these other individual projects. One of the projects is to finish series. I have a lot of series started. I've lost count at this point, but the ones that I am most interested in finishing the soonest are in this book. So I will probably do a separate video and talk about all the series that I'm reading. In addition to that, all the cozy mystery series that I'm reading, and I won't go into too much detail about those today, but they are on my 20 by 20 project. Each year I also like to participate in the Big Books Challenge, and that is to read books that are 400 pages or more, and you can choose your own goal for that project, and there is a Goodreads group for it, which I will link below if you're interested in joining up. Another project I have is to read and or reread books by Grace Livingston Hill. She's an author that I read extensively in my earlier years, and I really want to make sure that I have read all of her books. So my goal is to go back to the beginning and read all of them in numbered order, and I've only gotten one done so far. So I do have a stack of books on my 20 by 20 challenge by Grace Livingston Hill. Another challenge is to read collected authors that I've never read, and my criteria for that is if I own 4 or more books by an author and I have not ever read anything by that author, then I consider that a collected author that I've never read. So I do have a stack of those on my 20 by 20 challenge. And then one of my goals each year is to read the Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalists, or SSYRA as the acronym goes. I really enjoy reading those middle grade books each year, and I have a stack that includes them, as well as other reading lists that I like to read from each year. And another one of those reading lists that I am continually trying to chink away at is the Newbery Medal winners. I started trying to read Newbery winners several years ago, and I have read about half at this point, maybe a little more than half, but each year they pick a new one, and I'm a little bit behind with the most recent ones, so I need to get back to reading my Newbery winners this year. There is a Goodreads group for Newbery readers, and I will link it in the description box below as well. So let me just go through my 20 stacks, and some of these will be self-explanatory, and for others I will do expanded videos following this so that I can share with you specifically what books and series are in each stack. So my 20th stack is series that I want to start. So at the beginning of 2018, I made a list of about 17 or 18 series that I knew I definitely wanted to start, and I left the last 2 or 3 open in case I discovered something new that I wanted to add, and of course I did add to it, and now I have about 22, but my goal is to try to not start any more than 20 series before the end of 20 by 20, because I have so many that I have started already, and I don't need to be starting more than another 20 during this 3-year period. When I do a series update, I will tell you what those series are. My number 19 stack also has to do with series, and these are 19 completed YA or middle grade series that I've already started reading prior to 2018. And when I say completed, I mean that I believe that these series have reached an end. No more is being written in these particular series, and I have started them, and within this 3-year period I would like to finish them. Then my number 18 stack is 6 trilogies. If you do the math, 6 trilogies equal 18 books, so that is my stack of 18. Then my number 17 is uncompleted series that I've started that I would like to catch up with. So these are series that are still being written as far as I know. I have already started them prior to 2018, and I would like to catch up or at least make progress in all of these series by the end of 2020. Now, if you saw my last year's video on this, or if you go back and watch it, you may notice that I have flip-flopped 17 and 19. My 17 category was number 19 last year, and vice versa. I did this because I realized that I had listed a couple of series incorrectly. I didn't realize that they were completed, so I had to move them around onto other stacks and switch things around a little bit. Some of my stacks are to be stretched out over the period of 3 years, and then some of them I hope to read that number of books each year within the 3 years, and my number 16 stack is one of those. So my goal is to read 16 nonfiction books each year during these 3 years, and I didn't have any problem doing that last year, and I still had my 6 nonfiction books from my TBR jar that I didn't even need to count as part of my 16. I decided just to count my TBR jar picks as a separate entity. They don't really fit under this umbrella as well as I would have hoped, and I don't want to move the stack around or anything like that. So the TBR jar is just going to be a separate project outside of the 20 by 20 challenge, unless I get to the end of the year and I haven't read 16 nonfiction books other than my TBR jar picks, and if that happens, then I'll go ahead and use them. But for 2018, I didn't really need to count them. If you can hear my washing machine in the background, I apologize. Katie is getting ready to go somewhere, and she had to do some laundry. Unfortunately, our home office is right next to the laundry room, and I rely a little bit on what little lighting comes through the window in that room. And if I close the door, I'm going to have even less lighting than I do now. So I kind of need to leave the door open, but the noise is the thing. So if you can hear it, that's what it is, and I hope that you can ignore it. So my number 15 stack is big books. My goal is to read at least 15 big books, and that is books that are 400 pages or more during the year. Last year, I think I actually ended up with more than that. So again, I don't want to move the stack around, but as long as I have at least 15 during the year, that'll be fine. My stack of 14 is where March Mystery Madness is going to come into play, because that is 14 cozy mystery series that I had started prior to 2018 that I most want to continue during this 3-year period. I don't think that I will finish or catch up with very many of these series during this 3-year period, but these are the ones that I most want to work on. So for March Mystery Madness, I will pick the next one in each of these 14 series, and that will basically be my TBR, and I will plug those books into the March Mystery Madness prompts and the bingo challenges and things like that. So I will be telling you about more of those in a separate video. My number 13 stack is a series, and it's the series of Unfortunate Events. Since there are 13 books in that series, I thought that was an ideal series to plug into my stack of 13. Prior to 2018, I had only listened to an audio theater version of the first book. So in 2018, I read the first book in print, and I would like to finish that whole series by the end of 2020. I need to get going on it. I need to read at least 6 of them this year and 6 of them next year to accomplish that goal, but I think it's doable since they're middle grade books, and I will definitely tackle 1 or 2 of those during middle grade May. My stack of 12 is to read at least 12 Christmas themed books during the year. Most of those are to be read during December. However, I already have 4 of them read for this year because, as usual, I didn't get all the Christmas books I wanted read in December, and I carried them over to January. So I have already started my list of Christmas books, and I'm well on my way to meeting that goal. My number 11 stack is my Grace Livingston Hill project. I originally, a couple of years ago, had said I was going to read 12 books within the year and read 1 a month, and I ended up only reading 1 that year. So I would still like to finish that initial group of 12 by the time this project is done, and then after that maybe I can get back to the business of reading 1 a month. So I have 11 Grace Livingston Hill books on my stack of 11, and I want to finish those by the end of next year. My number 10 stack is a goal to read 10 of my collected authors that I've never read before. Most of these are cozy mystery authors, but there are several that are not. Right now I have a list of 18 collected authors that I've never read. I did unhaul 2 collected authors that I had never read. All of the rest of the 18 authors that are on my list I think that I will enjoy, and I did read 2 collected authors last year that I thoroughly enjoyed, and so now I'd like to read another 8 off of this list by the end of 2020. My number 9 stack was my number 7 stack last year, and I had to move a couple of series onto this stack because I realized they had been in incorrect stacks, and one of those was the Cherry Cola Book Club. I had it originally on my list of series that were not completed, and I found out from the author that that series is completed, so I had to juggle things around a little bit, and now I have 9 completed adult series that I have started reading prior to 2018, and I would like to finish all of those series by the end of 2020. I didn't make a lot of progress on most of those this past year. The ones I made the most progress on were the ones that I am hosting as read-alongs, because the read-alongs have really spurred me to getting going on those series. So as soon as we finish those read-alongs, I'm going to need to get to the business of some of these other series, and maybe some of you guys can buddy read these with me as well, so that I can really get going and get some of these series done. My number 8 stack is a stack of standalones that were on my 2017 TBR, and I didn't get to them. Almost all of them are from my shelf, and I want to get to these before the end of 2020. I do end up reading other standalones that my book club chooses, but in addition to book club, I still have a lot of books on my shelves, and these are the ones that I chose as being top priority that I most wanted to read from my shelf. My number 7 stack is to read 7 children's books. They can be either children's classics or kid or teen detectives, and those are typically the categories of middle grade or children's books that I gravitate towards, so I wanted to give myself the freedom to pick from either type of book. My number 6 stack is impulse reads. I'm not choosing these in advance. I'm just giving myself the freedom that at any point during the year, if I decide on the spur of the moment I want to pick something up and read it, then I've got it incorporated into my challenge. My number 5 stack is a stack of stacks. It's a stack of reading lists, and this was the only way I could figure out how to incorporate these reading lists into my 20 by 20 challenge, because the reality is I read books for various book clubs, and I read from various reading lists, and I needed to be able to incorporate those into my challenge and not feel like I wasn't accomplishing my 20 by 20 challenge by reading any of those books. So these are my 5 lists: Newbery winners or honor books, online cozy book clubs, and those right now include the Book One Cozies Club that is hosted by Di, and Courtney's Cozy Mystery Book Club that she hosts with Angela from Books of My Heart. Then I have 2 library book clubs, which right now I have those in 2 different lists. One is called the Literati Book Club, and that is where we read your stereotypical book club books. And then I also host a mystery book club at my public library. But I was recently invited to a brand new book club that is not taking place at a library. It is hosted by a couple of women from my church. And so in order to incorporate it into this challenge, I might have to put my library book clubs together as one list, and then my extra book club as another list, so that I can still keep it to 5 lists. I know that's legalistic, but I don't want to have to move it to another stack. I need to keep it to 5. And then the other list is the Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalists. Each year there are 15 for each age group, and I typically read the middle grade books. And then my number 4 list is 4 cozy mysteries to start within the year. I'm trying to keep myself from starting too many cozy mystery series each year. I'm trying to limit it to 4. The exceptions are The Cozy Mystery Book Clubs typically read first in series, so those are on another list. I don't have to count those on this list. And then sometimes for a readathon or a challenge, it just has to be done. For instance, last year when Sarah and I created the Amish in April readathon, I went ahead and started a couple of Amish-themed Cozy Mysteries, and they were not on my original list of 4 series to start. And so I sort of kept those as a separate thing, and I'll have to come to terms with that. But I really want to try not to start more than 4 Cozy Mystery series per year. And then my number 3 stack is 3 series to read from start to finish within this 3-year period. However, one of my series has 7 books plus a novella, and I read 3 of those, and the other 2 I didn't get started on yet. But I did end up reading 3 other series in their entirety that were not even on my original list. So I might amend this to say 3 series start to finish each year. That is, if I can get these other 3 series done by the end of the year. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to put extra pressure on myself, but I do want to finish these series. And my goal was to not start extra series that I didn't think I could finish in a timely fashion. So that's why these particular ones were series that I thought I could start and finish all within a shorter amount of time. So that's just how it ended up. We'll see how it goes for this year. And then my number 2 stack is my top 2 favorite authors. I have another author that is quickly creeping up on these first 2, but for now, I'm just keeping it to the 2, and that way if either of my top 2 favorite authors publishes a new book during this 3-year period, I can read it and still stay within my 20 by 20 challenge. So my 2 authors are Jan Karon and Fannie Flagg. Fannie Flagg did not introduce any new books last year, and Jan Karon had introduced a new book near the end of 2017. So I read it, and then I also went back and read some of her companion books that I had not read, and I still have 2 to go. And so definitely my goal is to get those 2 books read before the end of 2020. And then if either of these authors introduces any new books, they will definitely come to the top of the TBR. And then the book on the number 1 spot of my 20 by 20 challenge is the Bible. I have read the Bible all the way through when I was younger, and I took quite a few years to get that done. And back when I was trying to decide what would be at the top of my list, the Bible, of course, rose to the top because it's high time that I read it again from beginning to end. And I realized that there was just about enough chapters that if I read a chapter a day for 3 years, that would almost cover all the chapters in the Bible. And so that is what I have done. I have a plan in motion to help absorb those extra chapters so that by the time I get to the end of 2020, I will have finished the total and complete Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and I am on track for that. In fact, one of my reading goals that I established during 2018 was to get my chapter read of the Bible the first thing. That is usually the first book that I pick up at the beginning of the day before I let myself pick up any other fiction book or any other book to read. I pick up my Bible and read that chapter. And then also I usually have a devotional book ongoing, and I read a little devotional out of whatever book I'm reading at the time. And I do those 2 things first before I read anything else. So that way, if that's all I get read for the day, at least I have made progress towards that goal, and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I have done something good to start my day, and it's just a wonderful way to start the day. So that is my 20 by 20 stacked challenge. I have not yet gone on Sarah's Goodreads group and written out my stacks because I wanted to wait until I had a chance to do it in a video, talk about it here, and so now I can go and type up my stacks. I will do at least 2 other videos and talk about specifically what series I am in the middle of and what series I started this past year and what series I hope to finish. That'll be called something like All My Series, and hopefully that will be coming very soon. That's the washer spinning in the background. Again, I apologize for that. I'll probably also do a separate video of all the mystery series that I'm reading and that I hope to start, and then maybe one more about all the collected authors that I've never read. In fact, that since a lot of those are cozy mystery authors, those will probably go hand in hand. So those are some videos that I plan to get done very soon, and then it will make a lot more sense what I'm choosing for my March Mystery Madness TBR. So within the next day or two, you should start seeing all these videos get uploaded. You don't have to rush to watch them. In my brain, I need to do things in a certain order. Whether you actually watch them or not, it's totally up to you. But they'll be there if you're interested. And so for now, that's all I have for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.